All right, in this video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to factor a quadratic, but one of the struggles that students have when they first begin factoring quadratics is there's three different scenarios you can find yourself in, where all three of the terms are positive, where the C term, that ending term, is negative, but the middle term is positive, or what about when the C is positive, but the middle term B is negative? What do we have to do in these three scenarios? I'm gonna teach that to you in this video, so stick around and let's get started. All right, for our first quadratic, what we have is 2x squared plus 6x plus 4. This is our ax squared term, this is our bx, and this is our c term. So a standard form quadratic is written in ax squared plus bx plus c form. When we are given a quadratic that has an a in front, a coefficient or a number in front, step one is to multiply a times c. So we're going to multiply a times c. 2 times 4 is going to give me an 8. So right now I know 8 is what I want to be finding my factors of. I need to find factors of 8. I'm going to list every single possibility out. So factors of 8. Now when you first start working with these, you're going to list them out, and then you're going to get the hang of this, and you probably will stop having to make the list, and you'll just look for the ones you're trying to find. So right now, 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and that's all I can come up with. Now I'm going to look at each of these and I'm going to list out the sum of those two values. And I'm hoping to get a sum of the b term. In this case, it's a 6. So I've got 1 times 8 makes 8, but 1 plus an 8, that's what a sum is, the addition of the two values. 1 plus 8 makes 9. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 6. 2 plus 4 does make 6. So now I've found the two terms that I want, and I'm going to split this b up into those two values. So I'm going to say, instead of 6x, I'm going to say 2x and 4x. 2x plus 4x. 6x is the same thing as a 2x plus a 4x combined. Bring down the addition, bring down the addition, bring down the 4, bring down the 2x squared. So up until this point, all we've done is we've taken a times c, got 8, listed out factors of 8, and found the two numbers that multiply to make 8 but add to make 6. I split the 6 up using these two numbers, and now you want to start to think about these as just two pairs. We've got this pair here and that pair there. So completely ignore the 4x plus 1. Ignore it, it's not there, we're only focusing on this pair. We need to pull out the greatest common factor, also known as the GCF, greatest common factor. So what are both 2 and 2 divisible by? They're both divisible by 2, and they each have at least one x attached to them, so I'm going to pull an x out as well. So my greatest common factor pulled out is 2x, and now I'm kind of undoing the distributive property. I'm saying 2x times what would make 2x squared, and that would just be an x. 2x times what would make 2x, and that would be a 1. So 2x times x makes 2x squared. 2x times 1 makes 2x. We're going to do that same thing over here. What are both 4 and 4 divisible by? They're both divisible by 4. They don't each have an x, so I didn't pull an x out. I just pulled the value of 4 out. Okay, 4 times what would make this? So 4 times what makes 4x. 4 times what makes 4. Now you should notice that these match up. I call them twins. When you get your twins, you know you've done everything right up until this point. So you're looking to see a match there. So the fact that I have twins is a good sign. My solution or my answer in factored form is going to be a binomial times another binomial. So I'm taking a trinomial, 1, 2, 3 terms, and I'm splitting it up, I'm factoring it out into 2 binomials. Okay, those 2 binomials are going to come from the twins. So one of these is going to be the twins, just pick one. And then the other binomial comes from the GCFs that you pulled out, the greatest common factors, 2x plus 4. And that right there is how you would factor this one. Now, this one was a positive. Everything in the quadratic was a positive term. This next example I'm going to show you, we're going to have a negative in there for the c. This last value is going to be a negative. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's do another example following the exact same steps. Once you feel like you start to get the hang of this, pause the videos, start working them out on your own, and then see if you come up with the same result that I do. Okay? So this next one, I have it written down somewhere. 10x squared plus 10x minus 20. Okay, so in this scenario, what we have is a positive term, and a negative c term. So when c is negative, okay, we're going to multiply a times c here, a times c, 10 times negative 20, negative 200. I have a negative value that I'm trying to find factors of. Stop and think about that. Factors of negative 200. So two numbers that multiply together to make a negative. That means one of them has to be a negative, while one of them is going to have to be a positive. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to list out all possibilities here. Okay, we could say a positive 10 times a negative 20. But then we could also say a negative 10 times a positive 20. And remember, we want to also list out the sums. Okay, I could say a positive 100 times a 2 with the negative going on the 2. But then I could say a negative 100 times a positive 2. So combining these through addition, we're going to get negative 98. It's not what I was hoping to get. Combining these through addition, I'm going to get positive 98. That's not what I was hoping to get. Combining these two through addition, I'm going to get positive 10. That's what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to be using negative 10 and positive 20 to rewrite the b term. So I'm just going to say 10x squared minus 10 with an x attached plus 20 with an x attached minus 20. Okay, again, multiply a times c, find the factors. Find the one you like, rewrite the b term. All right, here we go. Focus on the pair only. 10 and negative 10 are both divisible by 10. They each have at least one x. And now undo the distributive property. 10x times what makes 10x squared? X. 10x times what makes negative 10x? Negative 1. 20 and negative 20 are both divisible by 20. They don't each have an x, so I don't pull an x out. 20 times what would make 20x? 20 times what would make negative 20? Notice I have twins. This is a good sign. This is telling me I'm doing it right. My final answer is a binomial times another binomial. One of these binomials comes from the twins, x minus 1. The other binomial comes from my GCFs, 10x and 20. 10x plus 20. And this is factored form of this quadratic. In this case, the only difference was we got a negative here, so when we were listing out our factors, we had to give both a negative and a positive. Okay, on this last and final example, we're going to have a positive here, but we're going to have a negative there. How in the world are we supposed to make that happen? Let's find out. Again, pause the video if you're feeling confident with what you're doing. You feel like you're able to get to the answer. Go ahead and just pause those videos, work it out, play the video back up, see if it's matching with what I'm doing. All right, my last and final quadratic. I've got, what did I go with? I think I went with 3x squared minus 15x plus 18. Okay, 3 times 18. 3 times 18. Okay, that's what you're going to multiply first. Now, I want you to stop and think about what you're going to do after that. Take a second real quick for me. All right, and what we're going to get is we're going to get a positive 54 here, but we need to find combinations that add up to negative 15. Multiply two numbers together, get positive 54. But when I add them up, I get negative 15. Hopefully what you're thinking right now is a negative times another negative. Two negatives multiply together to make a positive, but when we add them up, we're going to get a negative value over here for the sum. All right, let's start listing them. 54, negative 9 times 6. Negative 18 times negative 3. Negative 54 times negative 1. Okay, combine those and we get negative 15. Combine these and we get negative 21. Combine these and we get negative 55. I like the very first one we came up with, so I'm going to split this into two terms, negative 9x and negative 6x, coming from my factors. Bring down 3x squared, bring down 18, focus on your pair. What are 3 and 9 both divisible by? 3, they each have an x, bring the x out, and undo the distributive property. 3x times what makes 3x squared? 3x times what makes negative 9, negative 3, and we already have the x, so we're good. Negative 6 and 18 are both divisible by a negative 6. Negative 6 times what makes negative 6x? Negative 6 times what makes negative 18? A negative times a negative makes the positive. I've got twins. Life is good, okay? Only time I've ever wanted twins in my life, right here. So boom and boom. 3x minus 6 came from my GCFs. X minus 3 are my twins. And you have now factored 3 very different quadratics. The big key idea is knowing that when you are trying to multiply two numbers together to make a positive, but add them up to make a negative, double negatives. If this is a negative, one of them's got to be negative, one of them's got to be positive. And if everything starts as positive, don't worry about your negatives one bit. Everything's going to be positive throughout the entire quadratic. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.